With the release of Kingdom Hearts 3 only a few days away, I thought it'd be a good idea to review Kingdom Hearts 1. I've not played this game in over 3 years, and the final mix will be a nice refresher. I remember the original being a little rough, but still very fun. I'm Derek, and this is my retrospective review of Kingdom Hearts 1. Oh, and there will be spoilers, so be warned. The first thing most people think about with Kingdom Hearts is the story. It has become so convoluted that it takes spreadsheets and lengthy videos to properly understand it. But the first game was much simpler. It was a story about 3 friends: Sora, the Keyblade's chosen one; Kairi, one of the princesses of Heart; and Riku, who was seduced by darkness. The story is very palatable. Riku gets swallowed up by the darkness, so the Keyblade chooses Sora to save the universe. Kairi gets taken away, and Sora must team up with Donald and Goofy to travel around the various Disney worlds, looking for their friends and protecting these worlds from the Heartless invasion. Eventually finding Riku, who has completely lost himself to the darkness and will do anything he can to return Kairi's heart. Riku is taken over by Ansem and tries to defeat Sora on the Warp Destiny Island. Sora wins and returns order to the worlds. Now, the difference between the original and the final mix is not that drastic story-wise. You receive a few new cutscenes that fill a few plot holes and explain why Riku returned to good at the end of the game, but other than that, the story is mostly unchanged. The most credit you can give this game is it's the only one in the series that makes sense on its own. The writing, on the other hand, can be a bit cringy, and the animations and cutscenes can be a little rough, but as an early PS2 era game, I cannot count too many points off for that. Overall, it's not a bad game for kids and has a great story that's not too complicated, right now anyway. I remember being able to understand it easily enough. Now the gameplay is the real star of the show. This game knows how to make a very simple combat system not only interesting, but also nice enough that it turns it into a spectacle. You're an awesome anime protagonist beating up evil beings, and it makes you feel like just that. It just brings joy to everything, except the magic system. The magic and summon systems can be very clunky. You have to go through the in-combat menu systems, but they try to mitigate it a little bit with the 3 shortcut options, which help immensely in boss battles. They also allow the button you select as a shortcut to double as the OK button in that menu, which is probably the most innovative part of the entire system. Speaking of which, the menu systems are a lot. You have various menus from the equipment, items, your shortcuts, and even your comrades' attacks. It can be a lot, even for a JRPG. But it's not the worst I've ever seen. Do I think it could be better? Yes, but it could also be a lot worse. No, the single worst part of this game is the camera. I tried to use auto at first because I remember it being bad, and it was pretty bad. Constantly getting in the way. Granted, Sora becomes transparent in the remaster, which helps. Even in manual, the camera moves too slowly and you can't find the enemies quickly enough. So I ended up just playing with auto on and hoping for the best. Now, I played this game on Proud Mode, which is essentially their hard mode, and even then, there was only a few times that I felt like I was really challenged. One was the second Ursula fight, and then it was the Ansem fight at the end. The Ursula fight was challenging due to the constant lightning she throws at the player, which makes you really need to move every 1 or 2 seconds, and honestly makes Donald and Goofy knocked out for the duration of the fight. Ansem is only hard due to it being a multi-tier boss fight, where the only time you can really change your items or heal your party is before the fight with Darkseid. The gameplay overall doesn't get old though. You constantly gain new attacks, magic, and abilities, ever changing your style. Aside from the combat, the only other action elements in the game are the gummy ship sections, and at first, these sections can be really fun, but after a while, they become really repetitive, and I was happy as soon as Sid fixed me up with the warp gummy. As I stated earlier, I played the final mix version of this game, and it adds a lot of quality of life elements that I loved. First was the much needed Leaf Bracer from Kingdom Hearts 2. This allows Sora to continue healing through damage, and as much juggling as goes through this game, it's safe to say that this saved me multiple times. The second was the Sliding Dash, allowing Sora to close the gap between him and the Heartless, which happens fairly often, as the Heartless are normally faster than Sora. This attack also keeps the fluid motion of gameplay, where in the first it would normally stall you because you have to run and chase down the Heartless. But the best non-ability item that had to have been added was the new enemies. Between the various new Heartless, like the Neo Shadow, which allowed for some nice challenging in-game content that was honestly a multi-tiered boss fight that kind of went on for way too long, and the new secret boss Xemnas, which I'm still not sure whether he's harder or just as hard as Sephiroth, but he's one of the two. He's definitely not easier than Sephiroth. This new content added so much to the base game and allowed for a better endgame goal. And it really tied the story of Kingdom Hearts 1 better than the rest of the games with those enhanced cutscenes. Then we have the worlds themselves. Each one is unique and brings nostalgic feelings back from when you watched these movies as a kid. Every one of them sparking emotions, and as I played, I wanted to rewatch the old classics. Sora, Donald, and Goofy even changed their outfits in two of the worlds, Halloween Town and Atlantica. Now, granted, Atlantica is probably my least favorite world because of the combat there. It still is really nice to have Sora change, and it gave it a nice touch that I wish they would have done for every world. It really keeps with the prime directive that this game has of no meddling in outside world's affairs. And even though they break that rule pretty often, it's still nice to see the costumes take that in stride. Overall, Kingdom Hearts is a wonderful combination of Disney and Final Fantasy games. It's a story that can have some rough writing and some weird animations, but the gameplay more than makes up for it. I would say that if you've never played a Kingdom Hearts game, then this is a good place to start. This, or Birth by Sleep, or that 1 hour movie that's supposed to take place before it. But I have nostalgia for this game, and I understand that. But even with that, I see the flaws it holds. I would still say this game is really solid, and with many of the improvements and enhancements, it's honestly a game that everyone should experience. Honestly, I would probably give this game a very solid 8 out of 10 with all the improvements that it has. But before you go, I wanted to explain my grading scale. It's not like a school class where 7 is average. For me, a 5 is average, so we'll be grading games accordingly. And the scale will go from 0 to 10. 0 is just going to be an unoperable game. This is going to be a game that probably didn't come with an execution file, so we'll probably only ever see these from Steam games. 1 is an atrocious game. This has been given to games that function but are not optimized and have more bugs than not. 2 is horrible. This will be given to games that are bad, both gameplay and in story areas, and has very little, if any, redeeming qualities. 3 is an awful game. This is a game that was very rough, but I could sort of see what they were trying to do. 4 is still a bad game. It may operate properly, but the story's so bad or vice versa that 1 can just not be overlooked. 5 is an average game. It does alright in the gameplay area, it does alright in the story area, but doesn't really do anything to stand out. 6, this is a game that was so close to being great, but something just didn't work well enough, whether that be story or the combat. 7 is great. They have flaws, and they can be annoying, but the gameplay or the story begins to make up for it. 8 is an awesome game. These are games that have few flaws, and it has something, whether that be masterful gameplay or an amazing story, that more than makes up for any of the issues. 9 is a game that has an amazing story, some amazing gameplay, but had 1 or 2 issues that kept with me throughout the game that just kept me from giving it a 10. And a 10 is a masterpiece. These are very few games, and I can only think of 5, maybe 6 games that would ever reach this point. These are games where any flaws were only fleeting moments, and I didn't notice them after more time with a game. A seamless blend of high quality story and gameplay that many games won't be able to reach. And that's my review, guys. I hope you all liked it, and if you did, give this video a thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos like this, think about giving me a subscription, because that really helps the channel. And I hope to see you all in the next one. See ya.